Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Hello, Dr. Angel. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? It's really good to be back here again.
Yes, I'm so psyched about this episode because so many people struggle with their horses when the saddle doesn't fit. And as we know, saddle fitting has a lot of opinions and different
Hmm.
philosophy. And I just, for many reasons, the one main reason I think is because my horse suffered through a lot of pain, especially in today's episode. We're going to talk about the trapezius muscle because I listened to the so-called saddle fitters, the experts, yet the veterinarian's good rider, friend of mine back then, says, you know what, I think that horse is just super pinched in the neck. Back in the late 80s, there was not the technology was
Hmm.
available today. And sometimes we think just because the one has the title of a saddler or saddle salesperson or fitter, they know more than what you went through. All
Yeah.
your studies and all your research and all your schooling you had to go through it. It's really bizarre how the average rider gets, I don't want to say fooled, but misled is maybe the better word, by
Yeah.
people who don't have a fraction of your knowledge or veterinarians or equine professional knowledge. And these episodes are so cool because we can now share together from the, well, scientific side that horses don't wake up with an evil bone and says, oh, I don't like this saddle. Oh, I don't like this because I don't like guys or girls. So
Yeah.
it's actually sometimes very straightforward. So, hello everybody once again, and so psyched that we have Dr. Angel here, who um, has a wonderful website. It's right here on our screen. Please take your time, click on this link, and check it out. And Saddle Fit for Life is a curriculum we here at Schleswig follow tremendously because it's also um, recognized by the Ontario Veterinarian Medical Association, and the veterinarians who take this program get credits. Same goes for all 17 states in Germany with the Bundestierarztkammer. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. This episode is episode 4. We talked about previously about couple of those reflex points would cause negative reaction. Today, we're going to focus on that red triangle here, the trapezius. All of us riders have felt this before. Oh, I think my saddle is pinching my horse's withers. We feel it maybe in the downwards transition. We feel it maybe when we girth it up, or woof, all of a sudden the the horse snaps at me while I girth it up. These little subtle signs are maybe a good check to see if the withers is starting to get pinched. Why do I say starting? Because as a rider, I want to build a good top line, which is, well, part of the trapezius.
Hmm.
So in the previous shows or episodes, we always go a little bit back into history. And I like to mention this again because you might be the first time who watches this and haven't seen the other episodes. And this is a slide which shows that humans, since 7,000 years, always tries to optimize the relationship between man, horse, and saddles. And to the late 1900s, when cavalry was still there, or in Germany, we have just as in North America, we had the cavalry, and to this day, we have police who are sometimes on the horses. So in the old days, they looked at the ring of lights. You can see how the shiny flank is. They looked at that and they knew I can't put any pressure in that flank in the lumbar region. So they made a line in front of this. They made a line in where the end of the mane is. They made a line here where the longest back muscle is. So they call that mapping. So this is nothing new what we show you here, because in the end of the day, like Xenophon was riding down, he was the first militarist who wrote down to his soldiers, we got to get the horses back up. When the back is up, then the haunches can come under. And if the haunches come under, look at this horse on the bottom here. The back is up, haunches are under, and look at the front. The
Hmm.
fetlock is not bent down so much. That, of course, takes the dorsal ligament system a major, and it helps to lift the front head up. Sliding stop, canter period, just before the horse jumps over the fence. The last thing you want to see is the horse ridden like a banana upside down, because that only puts the hindquarters to the outside, to the back, and look at how much further this is bent down. What would you say is a common problem, Dr. Angel, when horses are overextend in the fetlock like that?
Well, so suspensory ligament issues would definitely be a common problem, along with other tendon and ligament issues. But yeah, you see that quite often in horses, unfortunately. Like you said, because of saddle fit and the way that they're being ridden, they oftentimes will compensate like that. And it affects their entire body. But yeah, definitely, we do tend to see a lot of suspensory ligament issues in horses like that.
Right. And I think they know it. Back then was mainly, hey, is my war horse faster than my enemy's war horse? Can he dodge the cannonball faster?
Yeah.
Is he reacted to the leg?
It was life and death back then, so you had to have the faster horse. Yes.
Right. So they didn't go by opinion; they just knew. And I think we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to explain, like you said, it's life and death. Today, well, if that horse doesn't work, I better get another one. But in the majority, horse owners have the horse here in the heart. They call them the hard horse, right? So I always love bringing the old part back, because they did it because it's survival. Today, saddle manufacturers have a different saddle fitting philosophy than maybe the horse owner or the horse. So if you look at the saddle fitting from the horse, you'll be surprised how different it varies from the manufacturer, the wholesaler, tack shop. They look at this, which saddle do I have the most margin? Okay, this is a good saddle and it fits. Okay, you're the experts. I guess you're right. Right, so it's a good fitting for the tack shop owner's purse. But is it really for the horse? Saddle fitters or trainers sometimes have a problem. Oh, the saddle goes forward. What do? They put a billet directly on the metal plate to pull the metal plate down in the front so it doesn't go forward. So I solved the problem, but I created another problem.
Yeah. And unfortunately, oftentimes as a body worker, when you go out and look at horses, and I'll ask, can I see your saddle? And they go, oh, we just had the horse fitted, or the saddle fits them perfect. And then you're like, well, can I still see it? Because there oftentimes are still issues with the saddle, even though they think they have a perfect fitting saddle for their horse.
Absolutely right. And this is why I put the vets, the body workers, and the horse owner and the horses in one line. Because your job as a veterinarian or body worker, or your career, would be very shortchanged if you act like some people act in my industry. I remember I taught this one course in Germany just for vets, and this one vet says, if we would work so shitty, sorry the language, but so bad and disrespectful to the horse, not only will we get our license pulled, we're going to be thrown in jail. What the saddle fitters and retailers and saddle shop people get away with is criminal.
Yeah.
So you cannot do it just for profit, because the horse doesn't last long and the customer doesn't come back. And when they come to you, they says the horse has a problem. Physical doesn't go forward. So you remove the thumbnail out of the shoe. you show them this is what makes this horse stop. And like you said, well, the saddle, because I just had it fit. How can they question you? Who knows biomechanics inside out?
Yeah. And also too, if I go in and I do body work on that horse, which will help obviously, but if the issue of why that horse is moving that way, which oftentimes is the tack, the saddle, is not addressed, it's a reoccurring issue. And then they're going to look at me and say, why aren't you fixing my horse? So it's one of those things where you definitely need to, make sure that that horse can move properly under saddle.
Yeah. I mean, I read every day on Facebook, somebody posted something again about unethical saddle fitting, or saddle fitters who say, you know what, I just had it. It's just about making the quota, making the sale. And that fitter was going in to become a body worker. And it made no sense to put more stuffing and put more saddle pressure in the holes, what clearly was damage from the equipment. How can that muscle ever regenerate if I put a narrow metal frame on it. And then, fortunately, especially in the front of the saddle, it is the highest pressure. And this is what we want to talk today about, because people, I forgot to put the credits here, so let me just say this is from Dr. Joyce Harmon, from her book, What is the Pain-Free Back and Saddle Fitting book. And I love that picture, what she shows here, because she shows the multifidus muscle, the splenialis, trapezius. We all the time hear, oh, the trapezius gets pinched. You know, look how thin that is compared to the splenialis. And I got a couple of cool pictures here, also from the University of Zurich, that we oversee that muscle, right? We don't pay enough attention to it. And there's also the rhomboid, and then there's the longest muscle. So when we talk today about it, we talk about these three muscles, mainly what gets often very pinched. You can see the trapezius starts in the middle of the neck. It goes to the shoulder, attaches to the shoulder blade, and then goes and it inserts into the halfway through this where the saddle area sits. Here's the rhomboid. You know, you can see the rhomboid. It's there as well, and it ends here. Right, and then we have this guy, this thick muscle, what I just showed you, the splenialis. It ends there. So all these are in an area here where my green circle is, where the most pinching or pressure of the saddle occurs. Now, I heard a great story from a body worker. He said to me, you know, you got to think about a muscle, how a muscle is fat in the middle. We call it the belly of the muscle, and it goes down to a narrow little ending, which inserts to the original insertion to the tendon. And right at these 2 points is where they're really vulnerable. If you put contact in the middle of the muscle, the belly, then the horse can tolerate it more. That green field here is in the middle of the longest muscle. That green area is what we talk about today. With the cup, that's something, soon as they apply pressure, here, this is from the University of Davis. These two vet techs hold the spine up. Here they demonstrate the neutral spine. And you can see how they all fall forward, then they stand straight, and then they fall back here. So this is the front, and this is towards the back. So the goal, what I just showed you on this one slide, is bring the back up, right? So then the hind leg can come under. What also happens, all these spinal processes starts to have a little bit more space. The horse becomes more flexible to dodge the cannonball, or for you to do a rollback and jumping or barrel racing. Right? The last we want is going down, because then they all touch. And what is the equine term? Overriding spinal processes?
Spondylosis, yeah.
Yeah. So, and sometimes people say kissing spine to it is a word.
Kissing spine is how most people refer to it, yeah.
Exactly. And
kissing, because the spinous processes are actually look like they're kissing each other, whereas, like you said, there should be space. They should not be doing that.
So from the health point of view, we really don't want to pinch this triangle, because since 35 million years, this is where stallion fight and bite. What happens when that triangle gets pinched? Those three muscles, splenialis, trapezius, rhomboideus. Look where the splenialis attaches. Right there at the middle of the saddle to these vertebrae of the neck. Also what touches there is the longest muscle. So if we put the saddle here and stay off that triangle and avoid these three muscles, which I have shown here again, the trapezius, splenialis, and the rhomboid, okay, then the horse will not invert. So when the stallion bites the mare in this area, I want to show you some other pictures from Dr. Ann Edmond, who published this, that a horse can actually go intermittently lame if the saddle pinches there. That's why the mare doesn't run away when the stallion bites her there when he breathes. So here's a close-up from the cranial nerve 11 that inserts into this trapezius. Then we see here the cervical nerves, and here you see the outline. Dr. Joanna Robson wrote a book about this. She puts it on the front cover. She calls it the pain line. A little bit harsh, but this is sometimes the nickname. And here's this typical case of a horse what atrophied all this trapezius. The muscle could not develop. This is a picture from Dr. Ann Edmond research when the horse ducks the base of the neck because it gets pinched, then the brachial plexus gets pinched between the ribs and the nerve, and that travels down, the horse is lame. Horses don't want to go forward. So that's why since 35 million years, the stallion bites there in that triangle we're trying to avoid. So if you have good spurs and a sharp whip and have strong legs, this is like every horse go forward. The horse is confused. It's kind of like you have a beautiful Ferrari and your handbrake is on and you just gun it.
Trying to make it go forward, but it can't.
Right? Or you smell like a lot of rubber because you're burning all the brake pads because the brakes are on, right? So, and then we see all kinds of problems because the horse has to duck the neck, right? Especially when we're dealing with pinched nerves. So this is all what I wish I would have known as a competitor, as a horse lover, as a trainer, because, oh my God, all these stupid side reins and draw reins and fake additional materials we put on these horses, bits, never get me going on bits, special training. Sometimes the answer is so simple: don't bite where, or put pressure where nature puts specific a spot for these horses to dominate themselves so they don't go forward. This is the research what I was talking about, University of Zurich. He was saying the importance of the twist or the context to the proper saddle fit. Down here, very small, you see a tree. It used to be much wider here. They get narrower and narrower, and what creates mass, here is the computerized saddle pads, massive pressure where all these three muscles are. See the yellow? And when they videotape the horse, the saddle with the thermography camera, you see nothing touches the middle. Red is really bad. White is right off the scale. That is super hot. So here is a horse at the Olympic Training Center in Germany. They call him Foxtrot. That actually has a name. And he's cantering right now. And you see how his back is up. And you also see how all the spinal processes are apart. That's the goal when we ride, that the back doesn't go up. It doesn't go down, it goes up for that purpose. So horses do tell us, right? And sometimes I don't listen, or maybe I'm new in the sport and I don't know what that means when their ears go back or they show me the teeth. Maybe they have to be more clear, rear and dump me. And here's
and I always tell clients this too, is that you need to know your horse, because the horses will communicate, like you said, in ways like that. And if you have a horse that normally is okay with forward movement and, would do what you ask, and all of a sudden they're not asking, it's probably not because they're just trying to piss you off that day. There's probably something going on. There's probably a reason why they physically cannot do what you're asking. So you definitely need to be a bit sympathetic and try to figure out what's going on with your horse.
Yeah, and I find this very interesting picture. It's kind of the muscle what I tried to describe earlier, the belly of the muscle. It's very big here, and then it inserts to the tendon here. And through the muscle goes this blood. I mean, it's a little bit rough, but I thought it was a good picture I found, where they show, the muscle needs to get the oxygen and nutrition through. And if you have a high pressure, the muscle gets stiff and you rob the horse from the nutrition and the oxygen, what they need. And when people say, oh, the neck need to come up, this is what we see here. The cross section of the rib cage, from the elbow, the rib cage actually lifts. It's kind of like when I sit up, I all of a sudden become 6'3". If I sit like this and stand like this, I'm 6 feet, 3 inches shorter. So posture on the horse is so crucial. But we see too many horses ridden in pain because they're going down. And then, of course, we got this nerve pinching going on. I just love that your professions, your entire field from body workers to veterinarians have now gone 180%. And I was shocked when Professor Adrian Harrison, he taught for many, many years in the University in Copenhagen, Denmark. He actually said, when I went to vet school in 1978, we were told horses have no pain receptors. So he says, amazing how our industry changed 180 degrees. The horse does feel things. And he's another colleague of yours, Tracy Turner, who is a professor in Wisconsin, Minnesota. And he says the horse's eye temperature, I don't know, is your field, is pretty much the same, but when it fluctuates, a horse is in pain. I mean, I read all these articles and papers. I know the paper doesn't have good citation. There's more papers out there than they're worth. They have to have good citations because everybody puts papers out. I get it. But what my point here is, there is a lot of stuff what comes out now that we can help.
Yeah, definitely. And with horses being prey animals, they definitely can be quite stoic when they're in pain too. So it does help to know little things like that of how to, get, indications that your horse is experiencing pain when they're not showing you outright that, it's a problem. Sometimes it's been going on for a very long time before they actually show you physical signs of it. So
yeah. I love this story. Also, a colleague of yours told me this. He says, don't watch them under the saddle in the trot canter. And if the customer says, I need to canter first for 20 minutes before he can even walk, that's a sign. You got to remember, like you just said, thank you for reminding me on that. He said they're prey animals, they're flight animals, So when they get chased by a lion, you see this sometimes in a documentary. You see them make the herd walk because the second the horse trots or canters, they get an endorphin rush and they hide pain. So they have the ability to switch that off with this massive endorphin rush. Always look at the walk. And I thought that was so cool that he said that to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And I see that so many people say, oh, I want my horse up immediately in the canter. Well, you don't even walk him, trot him first? No. That's the best way I walk him up. Yeah, because he can't even does a normal step without being lateral or bucking or not going because it's so painful. This here's a picture I wanted to show you. It's because they now developed apps where you put this phone on the corner of on the floor against the table, the wall, and then you have your underwear on. You lift your arms, you turn around, and it matches you. So you can have custom-made suits now because the garment industry has figured out to scan you, how to make you clothes. And the same applies with horse industry, right? So you or anybody who wants to scan their horse, this app is for free. You're paying for the muscle, for the measurements, but it has this cool layers on the app where you can look at the skeleton, you can look at the muscle group. Obviously, this is hand drawn, like most anatomy pictures are. But I thought it's a cool app to show. Because I, as a rider, when I pay somebody to train my horse, I kind of like to see when they say, oh, do you see how much more muscle it's up? No, because I may be not seeing them a lot.
Now you can actually compare before and after.
That's right. And it's so easy now. So again, I wanted to point out that over so many years, and the horse was a necessity, livelihood, we put the saddle contact here. And I want to share something with you, which is really a pet peeve of mine. This area here, okay, it's actually very easy to identify on the horse's back. What we do need to really get into us here, we got to stay off the trapezius, rhomboid, and the splenialis. That's the triangle we talked about. We do not want to hit that triangle. And here's something really cool I wanted to show you today. Oops. You can get a saddle from Pakistan or from Denver, Colorado. Both are Western. One costs $100. The other one costs $15,000. You know what they have in common? All Western saddles from here to here have a minimum space. Sometimes the fork is a little different shape, but the contact does not start 5 inches below the center. Never. Right? And what I love about it, because we have with the clearance and we have 4 inches space to bypass the trapezius, splenialis, and the rhomboid. They bypass that. And then we have 4 inches down here where the bars are contacting. What I also like is the scapular has this shape, and it's really far back on the bottom. And on the bottom, all of these saddles, no matter how expensive the army saddle is, or Western saddle, or packing saddle, they all roll away. So you have saddle companies in English, the same thing. You know, they have from here to here a space, 5 inches, 1 inch for the wither clearance, 4 inch for the trapezius, rhomboideus, spinalis, all not pinching. And then down here, it carries on the longissimus. Okay, see this? Now the same company who makes the saddle tree, us saddle makers, we buy from a tannery our leather, from a hardware store our nails and screws and whatever, and from a tree maker who makes saddle trees, the saddle tree. So the focus. So the same company makes this tree. And I say to them, are you joking? Why do you make them like this? Oh, because this is really disgusting. Because this makes the horse poke in the shoulder so they get a little bit more flick. I said, what are you so talking about? What do you mean more flick? Well, if you put your hand against your scapula, like your thumb in the back, you go back and forth, you can feel your thumb. But if you have a sharp point, you go, ah, I don't like that. So we get horses now who trot out of the shoulder with a hollow back. It goes a step further. Sometimes they bring the pure steel right to the horse. Let me show you. I couldn't believe it. I just saw that the other day on Facebook. They say, oh, look at our new design saddle tree. See how the steel is poking out there? Complete against the anatomy. But you know why? This is at the Dressage World Championship. Look how inverted that horse is.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And that's what people want now.
Yeah.
Look at the fetlock.
Yeah, no, that's horrible.
Right, and this is what pays the money. So the tree maker said to me, well, you know, when they order 500 trees like that, why do you think I don't want it? And then the consumer who loves a horse so much comes to you and heard every wonderful things you do online, school, and directly on the horse. And they're just looking at you with tears in their eyes. But I bought it what the champion got.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have the right stuff, right? And then you say to them, well, you gotta follow the money.
Yeah. Well, especially when you look at the prices of a lot of these saddles, and unfortunately, if somebody has just purchased one and then you tell them that that's not a good saddle for their horse, that's the last thing that they want to hear because they just made a major investment in that saddle. So
I always say to them, there's 2 examples. We all had a barn door, what slides or stable, where the barn door is jammed because there's straws there, the shaving is there. I got to clean it. We all understand if the barn door does not slide smooth over, it doesn't close. So if the barn door is out of alignment, and I say to them, can the door close? And they say, no way. My husband is 260 pounds. He's a bodybuilder. He has arms thicker than your thighs. He can't even close it. Then I come with my skinny arms. I can close it. No way, show me. So I go on the tractor, put the front load on, and push with the tractor that door. Either the barn door breaks or the wall breaks. I get that door somehow closed. So and that's what's happening with these horses. You know, that shoulder wants to go through. Mm-hmm. Now I poke with the metal fork. I don't understand. And the last one I wanted to show you, the same company, I say to them, why do you make them so short? No saddles ever. If I have wither clearance and I have the side of the withers clear, only this little thing digs into it. Oh no, this company wants that saddle sit on the trapezius. What? I'll show you.
Are they trying to slow down the horses?
Yes, 100%. So this here is way too short. This all sits on the trapezius. So I said to them, why do they do it? Very easy. People have so much money now, they're over-horsing them. I said, what does that mean? Well, the lady inherited so much money. She gets this 400,000 euro horse from Germany. That thing has movement, but they can't even sit the trot yet. There's a lot of
scared and she wants to slow down her horse.
Yes, it's kind of like you give your 16-year-old kid the cost of your Ferrari. but you
Mhm.
make sure you have all the brakes seized so he doesn't go too fast. So this is what the industry is doing because of this. So if you are truly looking for ethical saddle fitting, or you're looking to work with your body worker to make a difference for the well-being of the horse, don't hit points which will cause a negative reaction. This is what the series is all about. Yes, we make saddles. Yes, we sell saddles. We promote the health of the horse. And I cannot do it if I go to a barn and I see a lame horse. I got to have a professional around me, somebody who can help me to get this horse unlame. If it's not the equipment, then better a vet comes or a body worker comes to help me get that horse sound. To have this horse sound, why would I put a saddle on what bites or hurts the horse?
Yeah.
And that's what I run into all the time, and this is why I love talking to you, because you're on the bottom line with the horse owners and the horse's point of view.
Hmm.
You want to help these horses the holistic way, and not just the, oh yeah, I get super discounts if you buy 10 um, um, steroid shots for the price of 4.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some owners too that shy away from the word holistic, and really all holistic means is that we're looking at the whole body of the horse. We're not gonna look at, like, if you say my horse, is sore over his shoulder, yeah, of course we're gonna address the shoulder, but we're also gonna look at the entire body of the horse and how that horse is moving and what kind of riding you're doing and what kind of tack you're using and a number of different things. Also, is the horse being turned out? Is he, does he mentally have good stimulation? Are you putting the nutrition in him? How's the angle of his hooves? You're looking at the whole picture, because if you don't look at the whole picture and you just look at that one little area where you think the problem is, you're not going to fix the problem.
No.
So that's what a lot of horse owners need to know too, is that you have to have a holistic view when it comes to keeping your horse healthy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, as always, I can talk to you forever, but we need to keep it in bite sizes. And I hope, I don't know if your students have watched one or the other episodes we have already recorded. I don't know how far Mia, our tech, who is our person in social media who puts all this together, has distributed already. But our goal, yours and mine, if I may speak for you, is to make a positive change for the horses who are in equipment what cause unnecessary pain. So thanks so much.
It's about helping the horses and educating the owners. That's what it's all about.
That's what makes me get out of bed every morning. Say, let's see how many horses I can help today.
Exactly.
Good seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Great seeing you. Thank you so much.
Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye.